Hey everyone, Keo with Antique Book Collective, and today I'm getting to you guys with an interesting, very technical sort of video. It's not going to be so technical that you guys probably will fall asleep, but it is some pretty cool facts on the differences between how books used to be bound back in the day and how they are bound nowadays. So guys, just for easy examples, I got a random book, and I actually have a this is basically just a text block from a book. This is actually the journals that I make myself. I make journals by hand just for fun sometimes. But I do make these journals when I'm binding them. I actually do stick pretty closely to how they actually used to bind books back in the day. So I'm going to guide you guys sort of through that. It probably will help you guys if you guys need to repair any books that have some loose signatures and antique books. That actually might be able to help you guys a little bit, because there are some things that if you know how to make it, you know how to fix it. And so this is going to be something about that. But right off the bat, guys, I want to show you guys, here's a newer book. This newer book, Atlas Shrugged, if you guys haven't read it, it's worth reading. But guys, this newer book is using something, I believe it's called Perfect Bind, and that's what you see is used in like 99.999% of books, especially paperback books that you guys see nowadays in the modern era, basically. So guys, if you look really closely at the spine, you'll see there's that little dark stripe basically on it, and you might think, if you're like me, you're very analytical, you know, and you might think, well, that's really weird, it looks almost like it's glue, and sure enough, it is glue. So guys, when they make books nowadays, they have like just the cover itself with the spine attached, and then you just basically take all the pages of the book, the text block, and you drop all that straight into it, and then it sets, and it is the cheapest way that you can make a lot of books nowadays. Like there's also the saddle hitch, I believe it is, where you just like staple it like a magazine. That's of course cheaper than this one is, but this guys is an incredibly cheap way to do it, because again, end of the day, you take the pages, plop it in, it's basically done. It just has to have the glue set, and then the book is a book at that point, which is fan-sticking-tastic. It's an amazing innovation, but at the same time, guys, we all know of like 1,000,005 books that we've seen that have the perfect bind thing, books that are like 5 years old, 20 years old, that they are missing half their pages because the glue has just failed on them, because end of the day, glue is not guaranteed to last for an eternity. We've all seen glue fail, guys. So that is an issue with these newer books, guys. They're not going to last as long as old books, because old books, in addition to potentially using glues, a lot of them did use glues. In addition to all that, though, they also used string. So guys, if you look really closely at this, this is not necessarily exactly how they used to bind books. This is sort of a hybrid sort of version that I did myself. It was quick to do, but it still got the point across. It still worked very well. There actually is a book. I'm going to actually grab it right now. But I do have a book right here. Sorry, I got so close right there. Hope you guys liked my nose. But guys, I have a book right here where the binding did end up failing. And guys, by and large, I do not come across books that have the binding fail, because again, the old way that they did it just was very secure, very nice. But this book will serve as an amazing example for this video. So when you guys will come across older books, you'll actually see that the books, their pages come in like groups of, say, like 8 pages or something like that. Those pages, guys, are called signatures. That's what you'll hear them referred to as. And basically, in a signature, all these pages are actually going to be bound into the book at the same time. So here is the halfway point. And guys, when you guys come across books like this, if you can open it up wide enough, you will actually sometimes or oftentimes see like a length of string like here, and then like here, and then like here. And obviously you don't see the string here because this book actually has come apart. The string has actually failed. If you guys look closely, you can actually see the string right here. So some of the string is still around, but by and large, most of it has snapped and failed over the past 100 and some years that this book's been around. This book's, I want to say, like 1895. So you guys will see that quite often in your business. You will see books that have come apart, so you can actually fix that yourself. Depending on how quality of a job you want to do, I mean, you can get the acid-free, like historically accurate strings, or potentially the strings that have acid that are more historically accurate, that sort of thing. You can do whatever you want to repair the book. I would recommend mentioning to the buyers that you repaired the book, potentially say the repairs you did, or just say the book appears to have been repaired, that sort of thing. But back to this book itself, that the signature that text block that I made here, when you guys are coming across these books, I mean, you guys see how I did the strings right here coming across, you'll see that within the text blocks themselves. And the reason why I did it like this is just it worked pretty well for what I wanted with these books. I do hardcovers for these journals, so that's how that sort of worked. But you guys will oftentimes see in these older books all the strings. Sometimes you'll see them coming out, sometimes you won't. Sometimes you'll want to be inclined to repair them. I have never actually rebound a book myself. If I do rebound any books, it'll be this one, because I actually am thinking about keeping this one potentially for myself, or potentially selling it off, bartering. We'll see. But this book might be the first one I do, and if I do it, I will be doing it on video. But guys, if you guys are going to rebind a book or bind a book in general, you'll want to get the right glues, you'll want to get the right string, all that sort of stuff, and you also want to get the right tools. So I could always do like an affiliate item push on this video. I honestly should if I want to make money on this channel, but I'm not doing that right now. But guys, what you want right off the bat, if you guys are binding a book, is potentially on some of these older books where the strings have failed, where it's ripped out, potentially the paper that was in also has a rip in it, so you won't be able to use the same holes, or else the page will fall out again. So you will need to use something called an awl, which is really pointy on one end, and then you got like a nice little part right here, and you basically just jam that in, and you might need to roll it around a little bit to make sure that the thing goes all the way through, to ensure that your needle and thread, once you get going on that, is able to go through. So I did get a little bit bigger of needles to show you guys for this video. The needle that I normally use is more of a sewing needle size. Potentially I have used this one a couple of times. This is an upholstery needle. Worked very well for me for a few of the things that I've done. But here's just a bigger needle, not the one that I use, but it is just a nice one that you guys can actually see on video. But you'll want to get a needle and thread. I recommend getting potentially a thicker string. This is not your run-of-the-mill thread. This is a little bit thicker of a one. You guys might want to use a thinner one depending on the book itself. So of course have a nice variety of threads. For me, 99.9% of the books that I have come across, actually, I'm not even going to say 99.9. Every single book that I've come across in all my years of doing business that is an antique book, they are using, it probably was a white string when it was first made, but at this point it's sort of like a cream colored string. So when you guys are doing this, don't go and get like a pink string, a yellow string, something like that. Don't get black. Try to get something that is closer to the color of the pages themselves, because by and large that will generally be the correct color of string of what the string should look like, as it is. So if you guys are rebinding a book, keep that in mind. For me, I use the white string because I have only done binding on my own journals that I do with white paper. So as you guys have seen, the white does blend in very well. I mean, you probably can barely see it as it is. That's sort of what you want with these strings. I mean, people are not buying a book to look at string, they're buying a book to look at the paper. They don't want the string to distract them. So try to get something that matches the color of the pages of the book if you guys are rebinding it. But with that said, back to what I was saying earlier, guys, book binding, there are lots and lots of things, lots of tools, lots of amazing things that they used to do back in the day to bind books. Nowadays, as I said, I mean, they just plop paper inside of a piece of paper and it's like, wow, it's a book now. But back in the day, guys, this was an art form. There literally are trade schools to this day of people that teach you how to bind and rebind books. Most of them are in Europe. Like, there's very few, if any, in the U.S. Last I checked, it didn't have like any lists of them, any of them in the U.S. But I'm sure that list was not actually complete. But guys, binding books, the bookbinder, that is like an art form in itself. Like, if you guys know how to do this, how to bind a book itself, how to repair a book, I mean, you are basically guaranteed to make money, because people do like getting their books rebound, repaired, all that sort of stuff. Of course, you can vary in how well you do it. You can do it on just like the absolute bare bones like sort of thing and be like, oh, I got it done, it's together, whoop-de-doo. Or you can like make it beautiful. So the people that make it beautiful, they will make a lot more money than the people that are just like, I glued your book together, congratulations. So that is something to keep in mind. But guys, back to the entire thing about how it used to be an art form. I mean, guys, they used to gild the edges of the text block with literal gold. I think that might be a good indicator of the care that they put into these things. In addition to that, so gilding is one way that they used to decorate the sides of text blocks. Sometimes you'd even have them write words or art or that sort of thing. Other times you would have something called marbling. Guys, I think marbling, it's a close second for me on my favorite, but I mean, I just love the look of the marbling. That is something that you guys can do even nowadays. Marbling is not too terribly hard to do on books. Some people actually paint the edges of the text block to make them more beautiful. It's basically whatever you guys want to do at the end of the day. If you guys are to bind books, create your own books, that sort of thing. There are people that have entire businesses where they decorate the edge of text blocks, believe it or not. But there were a lot of different things that people did back in the day. In addition to all of that, I mean, you have to think about way back when you are making the glues to hold your book together, sometimes they would actually go out and make the glues on site for these books because maybe there wasn't glue all the time, you know, that sort of thing. So people would oftentimes make their own things. I don't know if any of them tanned their own leather for leather-bound books, but potentially they could have. And tanning leather, I mean, that's another step. The steps that were involved in creating books way back in the day really attest to the reason why old books cost so much back in the day. Of course, those costs nowadays, I mean, nowadays it's like, oh, this book cost $8, but potentially this book cost $1 back in the day. But $1 back in the day, that was about $40 today if we are going off of using a rough example of maybe what gold and silver are, you know, because inflation's happened, all that sort of shenanigans. Not really diving into that, but potentially this book could have been the equivalent to, say, $20 to $40 today if you bought it way back in the day, whereas nowadays you spend $8 and you get a nice book, but it'll fall apart. So that is something that I hope sort of explains to you guys why this is a little bit of an art form, why this is so neat, that sort of stuff. Of course, there are definite benefits to having the really cheaply made books nowadays because you can get a book for dirt cheap as opposed to these where it could take a day's labor to buy a book. So again, I hope that is sort of a cool little fun fact for you guys. I hope this video was sort of inspiring to make you guys think a little bit more about these antique books. I mean, these antique books, guys, they're not just something that someone was like, oh, I'm going to print a book today. These books could potentially take from start to finish a couple of days, a couple of weeks, that sort of thing. I mean, some of these books, guys, if you get an old enough book, it was literally written by hand as opposed to a printing press. Of course, I have never come across a book that was so old that it was before the printing press. I look forward to eventually having that happen. But until then, guys, it was a lot of work to make books back in the day. As such, they were a lot more scarce, and because they were more scarce, they have more value today, especially because, let's say there was only 1,000 made, there might be more than 1,000 people wanting this book, so that can drive the price up a good amount, which means there is a good business for us antique booksellers to go out, profit upon that, and also just find cool bits of history and save history from potentially going in the dumpster. So with all that said and done though, guys, I hope this video was fun for you guys. If it was, please be sure to hit subscribe, hit the like down below, and check out one of my other videos, and I'll see you guys in the next one.